Hello guys, welcome to another Rotterdam White Scars video. Today I'll be showing you how to paint up the Weirwood tree from the Kickstarter Exclusive terrain set from the Song of Ice and Fire miniature game produced by CoolMiniOrNot. I will be showing you how I did a sub-assembly, how I corrected my mistakes, and how to paint a pale looking wood and red leaves. Also showing you some little touch-ups, little techniques for doing the bloody eyes, for example. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's get started. So guys, this is the final result. It's so big it didn't even fit in my my turntable. First thing I did was sprayed the entire model Gracier, which is a grayish contrast primer. I did some applied some mud on the base, already set up the base to go along. What I want to do now is give the model a bit more definition, because white is quite hard to get correct. So I start up with some dawnstone and filled in all the crevices and all the folds of the wood. This way you have a solid base to already have some predefined shades in there. This took a while. A tree is quite a lot of surface areas because of all the branches. They all have to be yeah. What you will do as well is probably turn and twist the model a lot to reach all the crooks and crannies of the model. But in the end, it's worth it, because it's in the end, this will also be one of the terrain pieces people probably will pick up to take a closer look at. So that's why I invested a little bit more time into this model. Then to create a more weathered look and also keep the tree a bit, the tree looks a bit artificial at this moment because it's completely gray and white. So what we want to do is create a bit more liveliness into the model, and that's done by applying a bit more warmer tones. By shading it with Seraphim Sepia, shade from Games Workshop. This way we will create a color hue in the model that will make it look a bit more natural. Apply this really thinly, as you can see. Really watch out for pooling, because the tree has a lot of crevices. The wash tends to pool a lot into those deeper parts of the model, so be very aware of that. And make sure that you cover the entire model, because every part that is not shaded, that should be shaded, will also stand out in the end result. So make sure you shade the entire model. As you can see here, because it is very diluted, the white and gray hues still pop out underneath the wash. And again, this just takes a lot of time, because the tree is, well, it wasn't one of the most fun models to paint. I think the end result was quite impressive, but the model to paint was quite a lot of work, guys. I'm going to be really honest with you. As you can see, the model also comes pre-assembled, so the leaves are already on there from the box. Which also makes it really difficult to reach into those tight spots. Then we're gonna do some Celesta Gray, and we'll recreate the dried out bark of the model, and doing this just by touching up all the streaks of the tree. It should guide you quite naturally, and if you're not confident enough, you can also use the side of the brush to pop out those raised areas. And as you can see, when the wash is dried, it gives a really cool natural look to the model. And I think this was one of the bits where I was quite I was a lot of thought went into my head because I really like the look of the just shaded model, but in the end I want to show you what you can really do if you push your techniques and keep on painting. So that's why I chose to keep on painting and apply more layers. But if you like this effect already, there's no reason to not stop at this point. So if you want to do a quick paint job, you can stop at this point or apply a few more layers, as what I'm doing here right now. I am now following the lines of the tree. If you want to do a birch tree, which is almost the same technique, you would just have to change one thing up, and that's not follow the lines of the tree, but go contrary to the lines of the tree. So you create horizontal lines, and that way you create a birch effect. I've also done this to a couple of my ends for Lord of the Rings battle games, and that works out quite well. But it's the same technique in the same colors, only applying vertical lines with a big brush to create a birch effect. But the colors and techniques are all quite the same. If you want to add a little bit more to a tree, you could also maybe build up some bird nests in the tree if you like, by applying some static grass or a bit of dried grass in some of the hidden spots in the tree. But as you can see, I'm quite struggling to get to all the places, especially because of all the leaves that are getting quite in the way. And again, it just takes time to reach all the places. So every layer you add to this model, please be aware it takes some time. But every minute you invest into this model, it will pay off in the end. I think also from the terrain set, this was my second favorite model. I think my most favorite model are the corpse piles. I still haven't done a video on those yet because they take a massive amount of time to paint. But that's okay. So we've applied all the Celestial Grey in all the parts. We're touching up a couple bits. What we're going to do now, just wait a minute and go back with Ultron Grey. I'm using the air paint variant. That's because I'm lazy with terrain painting, and air paints are already diluted to a point that is perfect for highlighting. What I'm doing right now is just touch up the most open areas. So only the parts that are directly in the sun or are the outer parts of the branches. I wouldn't go. Yeah, it still takes a lot of time because there aren't a lot of leaves on this tree. It looks a lot like there are a lot of leaves, but they aren't covering a lot of branches, because you can just look straight into this tree and see all the branches from the inside. So in the end, I did paint up the majority of the model with Ultron Grey, but I always think the tree reminds me a lot of the Efteling, which is a Dutch theme park here in the Netherlands. And you have a magical forest, and there's a talking tree with it's a brown tree, but it reminds me a lot of the face that's in this Weirwood tree. It isn't crying though, it's most of the time it's laughing. So in the meantime, I'd like to shout out to our patrons for supporting us, and also shout out to Tabletop Kingdom for supplying us with this terrain set and supporting our local community. So in the end, I finished up the last highlight with some pure white scar in this case. And I focus mainly on the face, because that's the part that has to stand out the most on this model, and also the part that will be looked at the most. Nobody's gonna look at the third branch from the right, but they will always look at So I started with some burgundy color from Games Workshop, and I stippled in all the bits. And this is the part where, not sure if this is the part, but somewhere in there I'm gonna start to struggle to reach all the places. Nope, not realizing it yet. Yes, and this is the part that I'm starting to notice that it isn't going as well as I planned. It's, in the end, it's my advice to you guys would be to snip off all the leaves before starting to prime, because although you can reach all the outer parts, and if you just want to paint the outer parts of the leaf, that's fine, but if you want to reach the underneath of all the leaves, it's impossible. It's just awful. The red is also very contrasting to the white, so there's no way you can reach into yeah, as you can see here, without destroying the effects that you've already done on the white parts. I'm still trying though, but it's not working. There's no way I'm gonna be able to reach all of those places without accidentally touching the white tree. It's such an hassle. So here I go, snipping off all the branches. Later on I glued them back on with super glue. So I took a knife and flattened down the parts that I cut off, and then I actually painted them back on. But this is so much easier. This was also the realization for me. Here you can see that I already had to touch up a couple parts because I touched them with the red paint. You can also see, it's quite funny, there are actually 3 kinds of leaves. I thought they were all different, but there are just a couple of the same, they're same bits, but just repeated and placed in such a way that you can't really see the difference, that you can't really see the similarities between the parts. This made my life a whole lot easier. My fingers got a whole quite messy, but when it's dried it looks a bit like this. And you have, it almost looks like moss at this moment. And use some Null oil to darken and to give it more matte look. Just gonna apply it all over the model, or all over the leaf bits. How would you call these bits? Maybe plaques? Plaques of leaves? Bunch of leaves? Maybe. I don't know. So if you like sub-assemblies, please mention it in the comments which models you've also used sub-assembly for, because the best thing to do is to warn other hobbyists if a model isn't really paintable when it's already assembled. This is my biggest advice for this model. Please sub-assembly. Although it's already assembled in the package, just snip them off. So then I use a Mournfang Brown to dry brush a bit of light in there. What I didn't want to do is create this is actually the burgundy step still. What I wanted to do is create an effect that would not really be popping. So Doomball Brown, which is a reddish brown. I want to give it a more natural look, just like what you see in nature. If there are red leaves, they're most likely dark brown leaves, or a bit more, they're not exactly 100% red or burgundy or purple. They also have some hues of natural tones in there. That's what I wanted to create in this bit by using the Doomball Brown. And then Tusker Fur, which is almost like a pinkish brown, just stippling on the extremely raised parts of the bits, and making sure that it's just a cool transition. It's like almost like an autumn transition, as you can see here. I think it works out quite well. Yeah, and now finding out where the bits go. As it is plastic, you can use plastic glue, but yeah, it sort of works. So I combined, I put plastic glue on the branches, and then I put super glue on the leaves, and that way I was sure it would be secure. And I used a lot of glue, but the best thing you could probably do is pin the model with a bit of iron wire, steel wire, copper wire, or a paper clip. Also, one of the struggles I had was mapping out where all the bits should go, because not all the bits fit as you would think they would. And some have the same connection to the branches as others. So, for example, the smaller leaves have the same connection as the one I'm holding right now. So the double branched close together, but then there would also be a second or a third branch to support the last part of this bit. So it was quite a struggle to get them all in position, but in the end, we did it. So I'm quite happy with this. So I'm going to use some Tamiya color X27 clear red, which is the best clear paint out there, and I'm going to dribble some bloody bits in the eyes, because the Weirwood tree has bloody eyes. Be very careful with this, because Tamiya clear red is an enamel paint, which is a lot more toxic than your Games Workshop paints, and is yeah, so please don't lick your brush or use the same brush as you would for your normal acrylic paints. It's a very different color. So I'm streaking some lines down his cheeks and into his the corners of his mouth. That way you will get the natural look of flowing blood. The pros for this paint is also a bit more thicker than normal paint, so it will also give a bit more cluttered effect, and also give the effect that it's actually slowly dripping blood and not just thin water or something. You can do as much as you like. I like to give it a bit more extra because of the fact that it is a terrain piece, and terrain pieces should also be very clear in the end. So this is the final result. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider subscribing and liking this video. And thanks a lot to our Patreons, and see you next time.